This is Anthony Pascal.
And this is Laurie Elster, and this is the All Access Star Trek podcast. We are going to be reviewing Starfleet Academy, Episode 6, Come Let's Away. We are going to be talking about a little bit of news. But first, I have to tell everybody it's our 250th episode.
I couldn't believe that when you told me a couple days ago. It just, time has flown by, as it were.
It's crazy. And everybody, Tony sent me a gift, like as soon as I told him. So sweet. I didn't. I'm a bad person. He's a better person. But very, very sweet. So yeah, 250 episodes, which is kind of crazy. I guess we should start planning something special for the 300th.
I guess.
I guess we don't have to start planning that now. But
when would that be? Next year sometime, I assume.
Yeah. But that, because I'm sure we'll take some time off and stuff. But that is a crazy milestone to get.
If you're a new listener or you've been here since episode 1, way back when, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening and commenting and sharing the podcast and coming up to us and telling us that you like it, or just wanting to be like, here's my opinion, blah, 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 blah. Which, of course, is what we're doing also. So thank you.
Exactly. So let's blah, blah, blah.
No blah, blah, blah. All right, let's start with a little Strange New Worlds news, although it's not really news, but it's sort of news.
Well, it's the show that everyone has forgotten that exists for a little while. It did shut down production. They finished the show in December. They added Dr. McCoy and Sulu. And we haven't heard much since. But Jess Bush did a panel at the end of last month, and it's available online. And we looked through it, and she said a couple interesting things. I thought it was funny. Someone brought up, which we had brought up on the site, when all the pictures started coming out around the finale, there was a picture of Spock with the beard and the long hair. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, what's the deal with that? And she's like, Anson should not have shared that photo. I am not going to talk about that because obviously it's some kind of spoiler for I guess for the series finale, because it
could be for, honestly, whatever it's a spoiler for, it's a spoiler, so it doesn't even matter if it's for the finale or something else. I mean,
well, Anson wasn't the only one. The Chris Fisher also shared a photo of everyone on the bridge with Spock in that same outfit. So and that was the last time everyone was on the bridge together.
Oh, yeah, that was the finale then, for sure. The crazy thing is just, and she said this in the panel, but like they finished filming and now they still have 2 seasons. It's really more like a season and a half because the last season is only 6 episodes. But now they have all these episodes that are still going to air, and we don't know when, and they're going to have to do press tours, and they're being asked about stuff now, and it's going to be further and further in the past. They're not going to remember anything.
Yeah, but she said she loves being able to still be kind of involved and talking about the show and going to conventions. And she said, unlike other jobs where you're just done and it's over, this, Star Trek is weird in that it's never over.
You're in it forever.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're in it forever. And that's like, it's kind of what I was telling the cadets when I interviewed them at the premiere, was like, welcome to this. Like, you're here. This is it for you. No matter what else you do.
I'm interviewing George Takei on Friday.
And I'm seeing him tomorrow night.
Yeah. It'll never go away for these people.
Right. Yeah. No, it's nuts. It's it is crazy.
Yeah. It's, as they say, it's the first line of your obituary from, once you're in it.
Oh God, who says that? Probably Shatner.
What else did she say? Did she say anything?
She sort of hinted that there might be more Spock and Chapel romance.
Well, I thought was hilarious was someone said, like, they asked her, like, you were into Spock, and then the way you broke up, and she called the breakup brutal, and she said, look, I didn't write it. Like, it seems pretty clear to her, that she was not a fan of the way that was handled, even though it was handled. Yeah. She liked the episode because they broke up in the musical.
Because they broke up in song.
Right. But she said it was brutal, and then she hinted, maybe there's more to it. So we'll see. And she said there's some intense, deep Chapel episodes 1 and 4, 1 and 5, seasons 4 and 5 that she could talk about in detail, but that meant a lot to her. And we've heard the same from Celia. Hopefully we dive more into these characters in these upcoming seasons because it's all they get.
I know, it's crazy. Well, we'll see. We also had a little game news, which I like because it involves Voyager. Some of my favorite Voyager people. But when it comes to games, I tend to just, kick the ball over to you.
So we've been talking about Star Trek Across the Unknown. There's 2 Star Trek games coming out this year, which is unusual. This one comes out next week, so on Wednesday. And they've been holding we're trying to get to the bottom of this. Either they've been holding this information or they decided at the last minute to add voices to the game from the real actors, which is Tim Russ and Robbie McNeil, although they won't be fully voicing the game. They're kind of doing these little summaries and things. I mean, this isn't a AAA title. It's going to cost like $35. It's not, which is half what a serious expensive video game costs these days, believe it or not. So they couldn't afford to get the whole cast like, some of the great old, but there will be some voices, and they licensed the Jerry Goldsmith theme, so there'll be a review. We'll talk more about this game next week. I'm very excited about it. I haven't played it yet, but Steve, our game guy, is already playing it now and is working on a review and some follow-up articles. And I believe the review will be out the day the game releases, which is on the 18th, which is next Wednesday.
I love that Trek Movie has a games guy. Like, Steve is killing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's doing great. He's covering so much stuff, and he's on top of everything. And it must be nice for you because I can help you in that area.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've got an interview coming up with one of the guys from Star Trek Online that I think will also come out next week. And we may be doing another interview about a different game. And hopefully we'll have more about the other game, the kind of survival horror DS9 VR game, which is in development. Yeah, it's a good year for gaming and good for Trek Movie readers to, the thing about, Steve is a real games guy. He runs his own gaming site. So he's going to do a review for his site. But for Trek Movie, I know a lot of listeners and readers may not be big time gamers, but will this game work for someone who doesn't game a lot? Because it's a Voyager game. It lets you play Voyager. You're essentially in charge of the ship, and you get to take it home, and you can decide to save Tuvix if you want, and you can recruit people that were guest stars. The Ray Wise character, you could add him to the crew if you want.
He was bad.
Well, I guess he's a good guy.
Don't add him. He was very bad.
But the point is, you're not just following. You could get home your own way, and it's a very cool concept. And the question is, will it work for a non-gamer? Can you just, as a Star Trek fan, enjoy the whole Star Trekness of this thing? And so that's what I'm looking forward to finding out.
Yeah, let me know, because then that might be something I'd enjoy.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about Come Let's Away.
Let's Away.
So that's instead of this is another Star Trek tradition. Usually, they've done the Latin titles. This is Shakespeare, so it's from Romeo and Juliet, which makes sense because, of course, Caleb and Terima are essentially, they're the Capulets
hopefully not though, because things didn't go so well.
That didn't end well. So
he doesn't have a family to be pissed off about it anyway. But yes, so those two are definitely. You know what I liked about so they did this big montage at the beginning. Well, they're having sex, and there's this whole montage, and they're on a bench, and there's different things going on, and I felt like it wasn't just a cheesy montage of like, look, see, they're young and in love and beautiful and hot. It was actually showing that they're developing an intimacy, like a comfort level with each other. Like it had a purpose.
And there was an actual plot thing because she's got her superpowers and she could do this thing called mind speaking. What was it called?
I think she called it mind speaking.
And which we haven't seen. We didn't see that with Troy and Riker. Troy could do some stuff. And
Troy's half, right? She had a human dad.
Troy became more powerful in Picard. So, her Beta Z powers grew. Yeah. But it apparently, her powers intensify the closer you get. So it all made sense. And by the way, when we had Anne Marie on and she had already seen this episode, she thought the scene was, this was a bit much for her, the kind of intensity of.
She didn't say for her. She was talking about when you're watching with your parents.
Yeah,
that was her very specific scenario.
I thought it was going to be steamier and longer. It was not. It just seemed fine to me. I just, maybe, if I were a teenager, would I want to watch that scene with my parents? Maybe not.
Yeah, like if my kids walked in, particularly my son, because it's weirder for us to see scenes like that together than maybe for my daughter. I would be like, oh, I hope this part is over soon.
But we've got deep into that scene already. Let's zoom out. We're now 6 episodes in. We're past the halfway point. I really liked this episode. It's definitely a pivot from the last episode, which was, a heavy lore episode. And it also had that comedy subplot and
it had a very small personal story.
Yeah. The stakes were bigger, but not galactic. And they kept on going up and up. And this went back to the format where they have a story for the kids and a story for the adults. And they're both dealing with the same plot, but in their own ways, which I think is the kind of secret sauce of this show. And you gotta love Paul Giamatti. I love Paul Giamatti, so I was excited. He was the recurring villain of the show, and we haven't seen him since episode 1. So
I know,
it's time for him to recur, and here he is.
Yes, he recurred.
He recurred all over this thing. He was recurring constantly.
Yes. Well, so here's my overview. Also, like I really like this episode. I thought it raised the stakes in a big way that we needed. That it was time for, and it made everything, the stuff that came before was like good, that it's pacing not just well within the episode, but it's pacing well, I think, within the whole season. And now I have not seen any episode past this one. So anything I say is purely speculation, but I think they've been building up this rivalry that a lot of us, older people are sort of not very interested in. And now I'm hoping that this is uniting of the colleges in some way, and that we're going to stop with stupid rivalry because they've seen how important it is to come together.
Yeah, that was a big theme of this, is working together, and they built up Bobby, which I kept on during the episode they never mentioned his name. He was in the credits. It's the Vulcan bully, basically, from the War College, and they've built him up as an adversary to Caleb, before this, and this was the episode where they had to find common ground. I
thought his name was Bobby for so long.
Me too. Yeah.
In the episodes, I was like, I've never heard of a Vulcan named Bobby. And then then at the end, I think they showed his name.
He got an apostrophe, as Star Trek names need to have apostrophes in them randomly. Yeah, this was a very serious episode. I mean, if you think back to Discovery, they talked a big game on Discovery about how they were going to kill characters, like Game of Thrones. It was supposed to be the Game of Thrones in space, yes. Right?
And then they came running the minute they killed off a character to tell everybody he wasn't dead.
Yeah. So, and here we have a show about a bunch of kids, and now they made sure that this guy wasn't someone we wanted to die, but he was he wasn't a villain, but he was like opposed to our hero character, Caleb.
Oh, Bobby, our friend Bobby. Can I just call him Bobby for the whole
Call
podcast?
him Bobby. Sure. What the hell?
But as soon as the exercise started and they were a team, and as soon as the danger started, that shit was over. Like, they were all on one team.
Yeah, it really started when Commander Tomov.
Yeah, Tomalak, I kept telling him. The minute I saw him, I was like, oh, dead man walking.
Right. Well, for many reasons. I mean, A, we've never met this guy before. Yep. And B, since we know that Caleb needs to save the day, you got to get rid of the teacher,
Well,
right?
see, he mentioned how much he's excited to go on shore leave.
Oh, yeah.
Well, all he had to do was take out a photograph of his fiance, and then
Right.
I'd be
It's
like,
practically
that's
like
it.
saying, I'm going to be retiring next week.
Yes.
I mean, it's just,
Poor guy.
yeah,
But he went bravely.
Yes. And then he became lunch.
Yes.
That's the thing. Like, they weren't just killing people.
He was sent out of the airlock, actually.
Oh, no, but there was some light snacking before he went out.
They had a little appetizer.
I mean, that's the thing about this episode. They're like, let's kill some cadets and let's have them killed by these super scary cannibal monster alien pirate things named Furies.
Yeah, and they're jerks also. Like, just mean for no reason also.
Yeah, because apparently they hate being themselves. They're self-hating Furies. I think the design of the Furies was interesting. I couldn't tell if that was technology or just something inherent to them of why you couldn't really
like the
focus on them.
phasing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was just maybe some like a cloaking thing they were wearing or something. Who knows? But no, I thought they were good. Now, because I actually read most of the Star Trek books, there was a whole series of books in the 90s with these creepy aliens called Furies, but it's not the same Furies.
Oh, different.
Totally different Furies.
Did they eat people?
No.
Okay. That'd be a big difference.
They carried dolls. It's a long story.
Oh.
But it's not worth getting into.
Like cute stuffed animals or terrifying plastic dolls?
Yeah, it's more like totems they would carry and they keep their memories in them. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. But when I saw Furies, I'm like, oh, Furies. Oh, but it's like not the same thing.
Right. And I'm thinking Greek mythology.
Yeah. And there's really no connection. I didn't see a thematic connection to those Furies either, because that's a whole different thing. So
except when you name something the Furies, then they're mad.
Yeah, these guys were mad all the time.
They were just mad. But
it was you really believed the threat, and it was serious and scary and creepy all at the same time. I mean, we knew this episode was serious because Ake was wearing boots through the whole thing.
Yeah, she wasn't barefoot at all.
Yeah.
So that's how you know. Actually, I think one of the things the show is still doing really well is balancing tones, because we had a serious episode with life and death stakes, but they're still them. And so they still are saying their, making their, it's not wisecracks. They're just being who they are. And so there are these moments, these little exchanges, little lighter moments, little something. And it doesn't take away from the danger or the mood or the building or the pacing at all. They don't have to stop one thing to do something else. They are able somehow to integrate all of it.
Yeah. You could almost watch the Doctor, like they have him do different things for different episodes. Last episode, it was all, him and Tig as Abbott and Costello. This episode, he was all serious. He was just...
And finally, we got to see his bedside, like a good bedside manner.
Yeah.
Because I remember complaining that in the first episode, he was harsh in a way that I thought he shouldn't have been about Caleb and some parasites that he had. Like it was played for laughs. But I remember thinking like a doctor should have some sensitivity about somebody who has physical problems due to what is obviously their circumstances.
Yeah.
And in this case, he was very sweet and concerned and just the doctor that we knew he could be.
You talked about balance. I think one of the things this episode really did is there were basically two stories. There was the story in the Miyazaki Bridge, because they, once Commander Redshirt sacrificed himself, they basically locked themselves in the bridge, and it's all about that. And then the story inside of Ake's quarters
with Braca.
And that was just a two-hander acting tour de force.
Wow. I mean, that's why when I interviewed them, that's why I asked them about those scenes and specifically about their physicality in them. I mean, she has a whole scene where she doesn't even talk.
Not with words.
Right. She's doing so much and you can see so much. And he's talking and she's holding her face frozen. And then he looks away and she takes a minute to express something. And he's great. I mean, they gave him some great dialogue, like very well written, fun stuff.
Right. He started off with the bluster. He started off with calling her his space boo and
space boo.
But things got serious between them.
Oh, yeah. No, and they're both trying to find, the weakness. And he's doing it by being relentless and pummeling her, and she's doing it by being silent and watching him.
And there was some intent. We got every once in a while, they would bring in Oded Fair because he could just beam in and have a conversation with you wherever you are in the galaxy now.
But he has to glitch somehow so that don't forget that he's a hologram. Right. The glitches, I feel, are for the viewers and they don't make a lot of sense in universe, but they're for us.
I did like when Baraka was poking the hologram. But he was super serious. And there was where Ake just kind of sat and watched. There were all those things where she was there observing as, almost like it's not good cop, bad cop, but it's something where they were trying to play off of Baraka.
Yeah, I loved that Vance got him. Like, he had great scenes with both of them, Oded, which was nice because he can hold his own with them, which I think is difficult. But yeah, she is. Look, she's old. She's 400 years old, I think they said.
420 something.
Something. So she knows that you can learn. I mean, it's wise, right? It's wise to be like, I'm going to sit and I'm going to see what this person is doing. I mean, he still won. He's still got what he wanted.
Yeah. I mean, they're obviously setting up his downfall in the finale, so they have to give him a win here. Now, I mean, hopefully everyone, I don't know, hopefully, but it just seemed obvious that he was behind this from the beginning.
Yes. Well, yes.
That the Furies were, I always assumed, because they were like, well, he figured out how to get rid of the Furies. And I'm like, well, then they were obviously working for him, which I guess wasn't true. They weren't really working for him as much as he cut a deal with them.
Yes.
He doesn't like them. No one likes them, but
they don't even like them.
Right, exactly. I didn't think it was going to be when their ship uncloaked and it turned out it was his ship. That surprised me. I just assumed that they were all working together, but that was smart. But I think that worked really well. But then what was happening on the bridge of the Miyazaki, which I need to look a little closer to figure out where they shot that, because they did a good job of redressing something, and it was they either redressed, maybe they borrowed the bridge from Strange New Worlds and did a redress, or they probably, I think they just changed the lighting and they redressed the Athena bridge. I'm not sure, but
it didn't look like the Athena.
No. And they did the kind of plastic sheeting to create the hallway. So the Miyazaki on the inside at least looked a little different. And on the outside, we haven't got a lot of oddly what was going on during the burn. And so this was a good world building because the Miyazaki was a burn era ship. It's actually, Constitution class. You need to read that. They don't really talk about that, but it was a famous ship. And I thought what was interesting is the thing that brought Caleb and Bobby together was that after making some fun of it, they both Caleb admitted he had read this comic book about the Miyazaki because they had all died and they had become folk heroes essentially during the burn. And I guess what they're saying is during the era of the burn, or the area around the burn, that Starfleet started using uniforms that looked very much like the TOS uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
Because we haven't seen what those uniforms look like from that era. Because for all the stuff that we've heard about the burn, we haven't seen much except in the new comic book, which we talked about last week.
Right.
I'd like to learn more about what was going on during the burn. And this was a little glimpse. They
give us little bits and pieces. In terms of the comic book, I mean, the ship itself was named after a famous animator and the founder of what's the big studio?
Ghibli. Studio Ghibli. Yeah.
One of the founders of that.
He's Oscar-winning filmmaker.
Yeah, big deal, very famous. Right. So then to have a comic book is a nice touch. I liked the idea of a Vulcan that liked a comic book.
That was cool.
And it's, like their thing, you might, why would a Vulcan I don't know. A Vulcan can like a comic book. Vulcans read. Vulcans appreciate art. They always liked art. Always.
They love music.
Yep.
No, and it was all about, inspiration. Caleb kind of called it propaganda because during the burn it was hard to get recruits.
Then he admitted that he read it.
Yeah. So no, I thought that was, but then the comic book became, this was a little cheesy, but first of all, it was cool. Like the ship was, the whole goal was you got to power up the ship. Otherwise you're going to get eaten. And, they had to give Sam something to do, and Sam could talk to the computer, and the computer had gone kind of crazy and thought that the crew was still alive. And they used the comic book to convince the ship that her crew was gone.
Right.
And,
to tell the story.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting. We've
contrived,
never seen that.
But fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And we never see, the thing is, like, it's Star Trek. We're 900 episodes in. It's, it's like, we've never seen that before. And I didn't not like, it's like, that was an interesting solve.
Yeah.
To a dilemma. I wish that Jaden and Kyle had more to do. Kyle's job was to bleed.
To be wounded. Yeah.
And Jaden's job was to look at Kyle.
Well, to take care. Also, he was trying to take care of him.
But they should have shown that he saved his life.
But he did, because you said this will leave a scar.
Yeah, I mean, come on. That was more cute couple banter.
It was couple banter, but it started with reality.
But
but yes, they could have, they absolutely could have heightened that, and it would have been nice. I'd like to see Jaden actually do something more medical. Especially because
they're fighting the evil bad guys. Usually the Klingon is the one who's going to kick some ass. Caleb and Bobby did all the ass kicking, along with Commander Redshirt. So they should, his whole thing is he's a healer, so let him heal.
Yeah. I agree. They could have hyped that up.
End of rant. And then Genesis and Darum had stuff to do. So the whole point, I like this because you have the people in the bridge helping the away team. What they didn't explain is once the crisis started, why didn't they kick all the cadets off the bridge, which is what the first thing you would have done.
Because I assume the crew wasn't there.
Right, but they should have said that, because where is Lieutenant Ya and
none of them were there. So
Lieutenant Handsome Guy and Lieutenant Alien Woman, like all
with
those
the crazy pointy face.
Yeah, they're all supposed to. They should have all rushed in and said, "Thanks, kids, get the hell off the bridge."
But they didn't come on the mission.
Yeah, every once in a while, you just want a line of dialogue. Please just say that. Yeah. I mean, my headcanon covered it, but I'm like.
Yeah, it seemed obvious to me, but I get it. I agree. It's nice if they say it.
Because we've never not seen them around. So they're kind of establishing when they go on one of these training missions, they don't bring.
Yeah, this was very specifically a training mission to a ship graveyard where they didn't expect to encounter anything. And it's a place where they've been doing exercises for a while.
Yeah, where the War College had been doing.
Yes.
The Academy didn't exist at this level. But I thought the Miyazaki, it was a cool ship. It looked cool from the outside. It had a singularity drive, which, was Romulan technology, though they didn't mention that. But it didn't work, or it didn't work at the time because somehow it killed the whole crew.
Right. Oops. Yeah.
One thing the show isn't doing, and it's a choice, but there's certain choices of, like, I don't mind the way Ake sits. I don't mind the no shoes thing, but I just like some good technobabble. And there's a lot of
there are things they just don't explain where, older Trek would have, after something, either before or after, they have this breakdown where they explain how the thing works to each other, because that's what would be happening. There would be a conversation about it. And on this show, there is not a conversation. So they don't dig into the science of anything.
Yeah, like how Tarima's power works is just baffling. How she saved everyone at the end makes zero sense. Why the USS Sargasso had a sonic weapon using the deflector dish, because deflector's dishes do everything.
Yes, they do.
But how does a sonic weapon work in space? That doesn't make any sense.
Right. No, and how did her scream target specific people but not other people?
And how could she do it from another ship?
They do love a good scream,
right?
These producers.
And it's a little thing, but the nature of Sam still confuses me.
Yeah, same. Because why could they shoot at her and she would be wounded? I was very confused by.
but she was wounded in a weird hologram way. Like she flickered
Yeah.
and stuff. If you, because when they were shooting her with the transporter weapon in the when they were training for the
Yes.
Callisto, whatever that game is, it would go through her because she was translucent, but phasers hurt her.
But they were able to beam her to when they beamed everybody around, she got beamed around.
Yeah, but not anyway. Like, what if you walked up to her and poked her in the arm? Would you feel it, or does it go? I mean, what is
like
is
right? Like the Furies threatened to throw her out of the airlock, and I was like, she'd be fine.
Or would she? Does she have a mobile emitter? Is her badge a mobile emitter? Or does
something has to? Yeah, we have a lot of I have a list of questions about her.
But then she goes into sick bay, and there's a doctor taking care of him that is credited as a medical technician, someone trained to take care of her, because it wasn't Picardo. Right. Although he would know, obviously. Would know. But B'Elanna was the one who would always fix the doctor, right? Yep. So anyway, it just, I mean, these are, I guess, their target audience just don't give a shit about any of this stuff, I assume. But I care.
Yeah.
And they should make the show for me.
I care a lot about her. Like, I want to understand her because I like to think that they thought it all through. And this show does seem very thought through. So I'm hoping that we just haven't learned it yet and that we will, and they're going to explain it. Unlike, let's say, I mean, I hate to keep comparing to Discovery because I like Discovery, but there were things on Discovery that like when, what's her name, Detmer just has this thing on her and they never tell us what it is there for and what it does.
Right. Yeah. And every week they decide, let's give Saru a new power. Let's have him do this week.
Well, that's fun. I like that. Okay. I like the ability watch. Like, give Threema new powers, give Sam new powers. I'm all for it. But I want it to make sense or be explained at some point.
Yeah. But this isn't a nitpick. I mean, this is just a choice that they're making that I'm not in love with. But I did like the world building. We learned a lot more about what's going on in the galaxy, how there's still areas that are uncontrolled. And it was interesting how they kind of don't mind the fact that the Venari Rawl Newsbrocka's organization is supplying certain areas, because even though he's a smuggler and he's overcharging, at least these people are getting food, right, where the Federation isn't. But then they were willing to let him exploit a certain group of people because they said, we'll stop supplying dilithium to this planet.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, wait a minute, like, how many people live on that planet? Are you willing? You're just trading their lives away. So, they're still making difficult burn-like decisions.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of difficult burn decisions, we also learned about Ake, a little more about her background with her son, losing her son. That
it was a choice of hers, that she could have saved her son or saved her ship, and she chose her ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did his homework.
He did his homework, and he pointed out, he's like, but now your new little boy is in trouble, and you can't save him.
Now that we're finally there, because the thing about Braca before is he was just a space pirate. Now he clearly has an agenda. He's anti-Starfleet, specifically anti-her.
We also, by the way, found out his full name, Nustifer.
Nustifer. Yeah, I love that. And essentially, it's revenge. The oldest Star Trek, the oldest thing is every villain is out for revenge, but yet the way it got drawn out and explained, it's like it's more than that, and it doesn't feel like a trope. It doesn't feel like, oh, he's just another villain out for revenge. I think we get why he hates her so much.
It's more about his core nature than about him trying to punish for something that somebody did. Like, she didn't do anything specific. I mean, she put him in prison, but it doesn't seem to be just about that.
Well, he has a beef against the Federation, and he's decided she's the embodiment of the Federation.
Yep.
And so he's put all his hate on the Federation because he is a chaos monster, and the Federation is about establishing order, and he's the end of an era essentially, and he does not want the Federation to restore the good old days. And since she is a living embodiment of the good old days, I guess she's over 400 years old, But no, he definitely got to her. I mean, I liked how they made it clear she knew something was wrong, but she didn't figure it out.
She didn't know what it was, but she knew it was something.
Yeah.
And by the way, he also mentioned that his dad used to beat the crap out of him whenever he wanted, which is when Vance goes, "Lucky man," or something.
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
But he also obviously comes from abuse and trauma.
Yeah. I think we mentioned this before. I mean, they were trying to give everyone something to do. The Darum and Genesis, mostly Genesis, figured out how to find the cloaked ship by finding the tailpipe. They did. It's kind of like the McCoy trick in Star Trek 6, except whatever they were doing with probes and stuff like that. But they gave him something to do on the other bridge. Although, for the most part, Darum was just watching.
Yeah. No, and he even admitted when they were like, "Good job," and he was like, "It was really her."
Yeah.
So, and she faltered. She had a moment of faltering, and she needed to be bolstered back up. So that was, where she was like, "I can't do it. It's too hard." She's like, "You got this." What's her name? Yeah, Laura Thok.
Yeah, because they did the same thing with the character who swallowed her comm badge. There's obviously this cadet should not be there.
She's also the one who was going red alert, red alert, red alert.
Yeah, I mean every episode. I mean, just kick her out. She's clearly not qualified to be.
She's not, yeah.
It's not funny anymore. This episode makes it clear. Ha ha ha! She's unprepared for the crisis, and no, she should just go home and do something else. I'm sure could be happy doing something that doesn't involve space cannibals. So, but they have that character to make it clear how stoic and strong Genesis and Darum are. That
everybody basically.
Yeah. Because all the Starfleet officers, obviously, this is another. They're used to crises because this whole thing was how it was a test of crisis, which is why some people thought it was part of the test. I think at first, right? Like no one knew, and there was a part of me in the back of my head that was thinking that after everything, someone was going to say a computer end program. Like maybe this all was a test, but it wasn't. It was very, very real.
I want to go back to this scene with Nusbraka and Ake because there was this moment where he's like playing with her hair. Right? That was so good. Like she's just frozen and he's so close to her and playing with her hair. And then when she can take a moment to put some space between them, she does. And I think that's when he gets so mad that's when he's like, "You are going to sit." Like he's trying to establish his domination because he doesn't want her to have control. There's just so much there. Like we talked about it, but I felt like I had to bring it up again because it was so well done. And every moment of it was calibrated. And that's kind of how I feel about the whole episode was that the pacing was calibrated so well. The ups and the downs and it started out slow and then it picked up speed and, it's dangerous and then it's tragic. And they did a great job with all that.
And this episode is calibrated well into the season where you look at so many things needed to happen before this. You needed to establish Caleb and Tarima. You needed to establish Bobby the Vulcan. You need to have the War College versus Starfleet rivalry. So many things paid off in this episode, or at least built upon stuff that was coming from the past. Whereas like if this was episode 3, it just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
They are not serializing, but you realize they really are serializing, and they're doing a much better job of this than Strange New Worlds, certainly in the last season, of this kind of serialization within an episodic structure.
Yeah, I think Strange New Worlds just got erratic with its characters. Like in terms of this, it's like we were talking earlier about Chapel and Spock and how that seemed to go up and, that. Yeah. Because it was kind of weird. And then Ortegas, especially, who was like traumatized, but then she was fine. But then they talked about her trauma again. And then they were having trouble calibrating where it's almost like they wrote the episodes and then changed the order that they put them in.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think here, again, also due to they had the time to write this season. They were, they didn't have crazy stuff going on at the same time. Like COVID and strikes and whatever. So they were actually able to think it all through, and it pays off in a big way.
This was a very Star Trek episode, minus the technobabble, but everything else, it just felt like a very good Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
Because it was dealing with Star Trek themes and space action. We had ships. We had the USS Sargasso, which is the same class as the new Voyager, which they've never got a good look at the new Voyager. But and the Sargasso was I could be wrong, but I think it was a super deep cut, because in the animated series episode, Kirk talks about the Sargasso Sea as a ship graveyard.
Oh, that's interesting. Nice touch.
Sargasso Sea is like a real thing in the world. And so why would they name a ship after it? And I don't know. I could be wrong, but
I will say it would have been, we should have seen the captain
of the Sargasso.
Yeah. Because it's easy to be moved by the two deaths of the people that we knew, but a whole ship was lost, right?
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
the Sargasso was just disabled or something like that.
It was disabled, and it was the thing they were guarding. Yeah.
The whole point, I mean, the
point
big
was to lure
twist,
the Sargasso away.
Right, because the J-19 Alpha, this was all a heist. That's the thing about
Somehow
this episode.
The brain was like, and the tragedy was, no, it wasn't. It's fine.
Yeah,
the Sargasso is safe.
There's something, and we don't know what, inside station J-19 Alpha, and the Sargasso was protecting it. And so, and this is when you think about it, like, these things never really make any sense. So Brock is like, okay, so I need to get into J-19 Alpha, but it's being protected by this ship. So how can I get rid of that ship? I need to hire the Furies to attack.
Right.
And then I know for sure they're going to call me to help them.
It's quite the plan.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, wow, you really worked that out. You could have just, because apparently he attacked with 5 ships once the Sargasso left. Like, how powerful is the Sargasso? Because you seem to be able to disable it with a couple shots. So why was getting the Sargasso away from the station such a big deal?
And who's sending him the academy schedule so he knows what training exercises they're doing?
Oh, yeah. Well, is one of the students is a Venari Rawl spy, maybe?
It's
Who
the
knows?
girl. It's that girl who swallowed her combat.
She's probably, he's probably like catfishing her, right? That would be He's like, send me your schedule.
But here's the thing, like, despite all of that, because we just found like a bunch of holes or questions or quibbles, whatever you want to call them, I still think the episode worked great.
Yeah, these are second or third watch things. The thing about convoluted, there's so many movies you've seen that are about scams or like The Sting or whatever, con artists. They always rely on
Luck.
A lot of things happening in the order you expect them to happen. And you're like, wow, what if that guy just made a left at that corner,
Right.
then your whole elaborate thing would have fallen apart, but it's not worth getting into.
It's
but now we have,
logic. Yeah.
But now we have this new mystery of what was in J-19. Why did they need it? Because he says, I've got a gift for you. There was a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah,
here.
he's warning her like, it's coming and it's going to be big. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, did you notice the USS Discovery got name dropped again?
Yes. Wait, they said something that was picking up they escaped the pods or something?
Right. So after the Sargasso left and J-19 got attacked, apparently the Discovery showed up to attend the wounded and stuff. I'm wondering, like, I think it might kind of be funny. It's kind of like one of those sitcoms that has the neighbor you never see. Like, they're just constantly mentioning the Discovery.
Like Carl and the doorman on Rhoda?
Yeah.
Well, you heard him, but you never saw him.
Yeah. So we're like, we'll be constantly hearing about the Discovery. Like, oh, Discovery's on its way, but then it never shows up, or whatever. So, because I think, I was surprised, but then not surprised that they didn't bring the Discovery and Michael Burnham into the first episode.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see her in the first episode.
Yeah, that's kind of a Star Trek tradition, like Quark in Voyager.
Oh, they did it in all those.
Every one of those shows did it. But they haven't done it in the modern era. Like the first episode of Strange New Worlds
was just a first episode.
Yeah. They may have mentioned it, but it just was, And it
Well,
was very much a spinoff of Discovery.
yeah,
right?
I mean, Discovery had left for the future, but there
Yeah.
were certainly somebody still around that we could have seen.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess they just don't do that anymore. But still, I would be, well, eventually Tilly's going to show up for one episode this season.
Yes.
I would be surprised. They'll probably do it in season 2 or the season 1 finale. But you don't want Discovery to come in and save the day.
Yeah, I wouldn't put her in the finale. So if I were deciding, I'm acting as if it's my choice. But I hope that Michael Burnham shows up at some point.
Yeah.
And Sinek was right there filming in Toronto.
Exactly.
So I'm sure they can work it out.
Yeah, I mean, she kind of, did she kind of hint that it's happening?
Yes.
I mean, something she said
She
made us
said
think.
there's a reason, something about there's a reason it's in the same era. When someone, that was a response to someone saying, could you turn up on the show?
Maybe season 2, but I think it's going to happen.
On a separate note, I did enjoy in the very beginning scene with Terima and Caleb, her description of the Delton that she had to go through the crazy ritual with.
Oh, right. Apparently the whole family's.
And the tambourines and the family dancing around. And then Caleb says, this is one of my favorite lines of the whole episode. He says, so much has happened to me in my life, but nothing worse than this story. And she said there's you sing a duet, and then she said it was called something about it was fruitful coupling.
I mean, the Deltons have their own ways,
which we've always known. And then I was like, I have two questions about that scene. One was when she goes, oh, and they did this thing, and then she whispers it to him. And I'm like, again, that's for the viewers because there's nobody else in the room with them. So why does she need to whisper it in his ear? But here's my real nitpick.
Okay.
Where were they? Because he shares a room with 2 other people, and she left him alone in the room when she was mad. So first of all, is that her room, and a war college cadets have their own rooms?
I was wondering, what is the 32nd century equivalent of hanging a sock on the door? Because they don't have doorknobs, right? So there must be but he could program. My bet is, so a headcanon, Caleb just hacked the door so that his roommates, so Occam and Darum, couldn't get in while he was having sexy time, is what I'm thinking. Or he told them, look, I need it. It's bro code. He's like, dudes, I need a couple hours, and they're like, no problem. Darum's can be a jerk, but he gets it.
And the other one's her brother.
Yes, he probably didn't want the brother involved. So he's like, Darum, you need to keep Occam out of the room for 2 hours.
All right.
That's my head.
They have roommates. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been awkward if the brothers came in.
Yeah. No kidding.
He would have sensed it from the hallway, right? Because he is a beta set. So many questions we have that.
I know. I have so many random stupid questions about things that don't really matter that much.
I wonder, the Romulan friend of Bobby's Romulan friend, who also has a name, her name is Ozolo. Is she going to hold Caleb responsible for her friend's death? Is she going to keep the grudge going? Because she's been part of this rivalry thing.
She's the most aggressive one.
Yeah, and she actually showed up briefly in this episode. She didn't have anything to say, but she put the flag over his body. By the way, where was Commander Redshirt's body? Did they just leave him floating around?
No, he was sent out of the airlock. So,
but couldn't they have beamed him in and give him a flag? Whatever. But I'm wondering if she's going to.
Well, why would she blame Caleb?
I mean, why blame anyone for anything? Why does New Sprocket think that Ake is the personification of everything in the Federation? You just fixate, and she wants to blame someone, so it's easier to get angry at him. She already hates all of the Academy people.
I think it's Darum who's more involved in the rivalry with everybody.
I guess.
Yeah.
So,
I don't
obviously,
think it's
Kyle and Jaden are
every time there's some rivalry, and you look over and they're just grinning at each other.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What did you think? There was a moment where Jaden goes, "Oh, so you guys are wink, wink, nudge, nudge." Know what I mean? Because because when Caleb reveals that he and
That's how I was going to tell you, or something like that.
I thought that was cute. I liked that.
But that's what I meant before. Like there are these very real moments between them, no matter what's going on.
Yeah. And they knew to get that stuff out of the way before the cannibals show up, right?
Right.
Or no, actually, no, that was after the cannibals showed up.
Yeah, they're little. That's why I'm saying, like, they weave it in a way that feels real.
Yeah, see, that didn't bother. It didn't feel weird because, that was the thing that Disco never got right.
Yeah, no, and I think Strange New World screwed it up sometimes too.
Yeah.
You'd be like, okay, we have 8 seconds before the whole planet explodes. And then they'd have a joke or like a serious emotional moment or something. And you're like, what are you doing? Yeah, this one moved fast. Like, you're like, wow, the next thing is happening. And wow, the next thing is happening. It was very fast.
But I thought that I'm glad that they took a moment at the end to respect the dead, because I do wish the red shirt, they kind of gave him a moment as well. But people dying is a big deal, especially for on this show. And they slowed things down at the end, and you could just feel the weight of it on Ake. I liked when Vance tried to take the blame, and she's just like, no.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can see the weight of it on her the whole time. I mean, she plays so much on her face without she does so much in small gestures. Like everything about Paul Giamatti in this show, not in the other things he does, because he's capable of beautiful, subtle work. But he's so big, everything about him is like big and loud and boisterous. And then her energy is the opposite. Yeah.
It's kind of like the acting version of judo, where you you use your enemy's force against them,
Right. Which is a very Star Trek thing too, which is like you have to learn about your enemy. I mean, that's what Klingons always talk about, learning about your enemy.
Yeah.
Too, I think. Yeah.
Another thing that was layered this season, some people had a problem in the last episode, and I'm starting to, we didn't talk about this, but I think we should. So in the previous episode, we had Commander Kelrek, who was built up as this rival to Ake in the second episode. And he was kind of the butt of the joke in the last episode.
I mean, he was. So because I've seen a lot of talk about this also. And I think that you can interpret that dinner thing very differently. So a lot of people saw it as like, she's just being a bully, and they concocted this whole thing to make fun of him and make him feel small.
Now, the concocting was just the farting fish. I mean, there was a real person coming to visit the school.
Yes.
And the ritual was real. They just threw in the farting fish as a joke.
But I think there was more to what was going. I mean, maybe it's my interpreting in my head canon, because I have a positive spin on this show. But I felt like she was telling him a lot of things. She was telling him, she's an old person and she's seen a lot. So part of it is she's trying to tell him, like, 1, you're getting all caught up in the wrong things. You're focusing on the wrong things. 2, you need to loosen up a little bit because you're very uptight. And 3, you need to tell me what it is about me that you're so mad at. And he did. She was trying to get out of him she knows he has an issue with her. He has from the beginning. And she wanted him to just put the core of it out there, which he did, which was about her leaving Starfleet, abandoning Starfleet.
And so she got to that. The dinner was trying to help him, and it probably did with this.
Yeah, I think she was trying to help him.
Yeah. So, but then again, that episode had to exist for this episode to exist, because they really worked together in this episode. So they were doing what they said they needed to do in the last episode, which was set an example for the students to show how we could cooperate. And the way they cooperate, there was no rivalry between them. They were all on the same page.
Yeah. I liked when he said, my cadets know what to do in a hostage situation. Like, that was really good too. And she just accepted that. Great.
But it was not like, my cadets know and yours don't. There was none of the rivalry stuff. And he had ideas, and he's like, well, they set up this program and to turn on the drive. So he was part of the solution. He was helping. They were really working well together. But again, this was paying off stuff from the previous episodes.
Yep.
Which is that this show is playing long game with even characters like Kelrick.
Yeah. I agree. No, they're doing so well. The construction of it is so good.
Laura Thok didn't have much to do in this episode besides gambling on the results of things with
and a little encouragement when needed.
Yeah.
A little bit. But she didn't do big first officer-y things.
No. Because she should have been in command. I guess she was when the captain was dealing with New Spraka. She was. And yeah. But still, we should have seen her do something like solve a little crisis, have a little thing.
I agree. It was more like training the cadets. But
yeah,
was this the longest episode we've had yet?
No, well, since the
premiere.
Yeah, there was some interesting stuff with Caleb. They're trying to hint that he's a future captain, but in funny ways. Like he sits in the captain's chair, but it doesn't work.
Right.
But he was clearly the one in command of the situation there. He was saying, you do this, you do that. And, he was leading the group of cadets on the ship once Commander Redshirt died.
Yeah, I guess he was. I sort of felt like I thought they were sort of teamed. I thought it was like he and our friend Bobby were sort of both.
Yeah, but I think he was just more of our POV character, and I think the whole thing they did with the captain's chair and some other stuff, although in the end, they were all going to get eaten if it weren't for Terima. So it really fell apart at the end there.
Yeah.
Because New Spraka stabbed them all in the back. But now the interesting thing she said was, you're not going to like me after this, because she's going to kill some guys with her screaming.
Yeah.
Now, I think like Caleb has been in prison, and I think he could deal with seeing her kill people to protect her friends.
Yeah, I'm wondering if she can deal with having killed a bunch. Like, I think I hope that's going to be a big deal for her.
Yeah.
Even though it was the right thing to do, and really, if anybody needed killing, it was those Furies.
Right. They made sure there was like nothing redeemable about it.
Yeah, it was hard to feel guilty about killing them.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, you should almost feel guilty for not killing them. But exactly. I would imagine there's going to be, she's still unconscious, right? Yeah, they left it where she's still unconscious. I mean, she's still kind of a one note, like she has one thing that's her thing. We haven't seen a lot of different, layers of her, but I'd like to see more of that. Right now it is too one note, but I like the one thing, which is that she is worried that, it's the same thing Sam said, but with a completely different meaning. But people are telling me I'm too much.
Yeah.
Right. And so, which I have to say, like, as a woman, that's a recurring theme in my life to this day, where I'm like, I'm too much. I'm too much for people. And so I like that is her concern, that she has these powers and she's trying to, and when he gets mad at her, she's like, this is who I am. Like, she's struggling with it, but she owns it at the same time.
It's a lot to, obviously she went into his mind and grabbed a traumatic moment from his childhood and
by accident, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's like, I enjoy having sex with you, but I don't want you poking around in my brain.
Right.
Right.
I'll go to your yellow flower field, but leave my teddy bear alone.
Right. Exactly. So it was all understandable from, their ages and understanding. But then in the end, before she did, they kind of made up, and now there's consequences. That's the thing. Like, everything didn't tie up nicely in a bow at the end. The Vulcan is really dead. She's in a coma. New Sprach is out there.
Everybody's like freaked out. Everybody is freaked out. Yeah.
A big test for this show will be episode 7. Let's hope that this has a lasting impact, that it isn't all just like, hey, everything's fine. Because stuff happened in this episode, and one of the smartest things that Akiva always says is Captain Kirk lost the love of his life and everything was fine the next week. That shouldn't have happened. I imagine that we'll see ripple effects. Let's keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for that.
Well, as soon as we finish recording this podcast, I'm going to go watch the next episode.
I don't watch until I'm done editing the podcast. Then I can watch the next episode.
Right.
So Well, I think we're done. Any other random stuff?
No.
Ake's got Captain Archer ship on her wall along with a bunch of other stuff.
Which he was playing with.
Which are all Eagle Moss ships. So she's got, an ancient Eagle Moss collection, which is cool.
A lot of them do. They seem to have those.
Exactly.
I did the different thing. He called her my space boo, my solar flame, my interstellar bestie. I feel like you're my interstellar bestie, Tony.
Oh, that's sweet. But he doesn't mean it. He hates her with a passion.
Yes, he does. She's not really his space boo.
Part of me wonders, did he just start riffing? Is any of this? It'd be nice once we get Paul on the podcast someday. Fingers crossed that
we'll get. We're gonna get him.
Because part of me, it just the way he does that, I feel like some of this must have been spontaneous on the day. Like some of the choices that they're making, but we know that they do. They do rehearsals and stuff like that. But it's just so well done. It's so organic. It's on a whole new level. It's this is a kids YA show with this whole other intense masterclass in acting happening over here on this side.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Agreed. There's a lot going on.
All right. Let's do some bitsy bits. I'll start off. There's just a fun thing I saw on Blue Sky, I think, or Twitter. I'm not sure which it was, but it came from an account that calls itself the Commodore Museum. I have a confession to make. I used to be a owner of a Commodore computer. I owned a Commodore Amiga back in the day. I will still argue with you over why the Commodore Amiga, it was a superior computer to the Apple Macintosh and all the other computers of its day. It of course died like the Betamax and other technologies.
We had a Betamax.
There you go. Betamaxes are better than VHS, but
right? They were better, and then
This account put out this video on social media. It was on X, and it's 4 mind-blowing Star Trek connections to Commodore 64 and Amiga. One of which was the one you probably remember, which is of course, William Shatner did advertising for Commodore because isn't that a given? Name a company. There should be a list. How many companies has William Shatner not done a commercial for? That's
longer than a list of companies that he has. You didn't even get to see his Canadian ads that I got to see growing up. The Loblaws supermarket ads and Ponderosa Steakhouse.
Oh man, insane.
I got more than you did.
So if you want to learn more about the Star Trek Commodore connection, we'll have a link in the show notes, or look up the Commodore Computer Museum on X.
Oh, fun. All right. Well, mine is from Blue Sky, actually. There are all these different accounts that do different Star Trek things, but I just discovered this. I don't know how new they are, called Worf Email. And it's just emails from Worf. So I'll tell you a couple of them. Dr. Pulaski, my name is spelled Worf, not Wharf, like a wharf, WHAR. Do not make this mistake again, Worf. Or Data, I am done feeding your animal. Come collect it, Worf. He signs it all, Worf. So, and then the last was, Mother, I am well. The captain continues to dismiss my suggestions. It is not easy being the only Klingon. I do enjoy poker nights, Worf. So we'll just put a link to that. I love Star Trek corrected captions, all these are, but that's a new
Riker
fun
Googling.
one. Riker Googling. This is a fun one that I hadn't seen yet. So very clever. And then before we go, I want to give a little Trek Talks update as we approach March 28th, the big day for the Trek Talks benefit to benefit the Hollywood Food Coalition that we do with John Billingsley and the Sci-Fi Sisters and Roddenberry Podcast and Bill and Dan from Trek Geeks. So, and a whole team of volunteers. Last time, I think I mentioned a couple of guests. We got Paul Giamatti.
Wow.
Which I know we've announced this, on social, but we got him. And in fact, we had to pre-record and he already recorded with us. And I'm just going to share this part, which is that the interviews, I hope nobody's mad at me, but I don't care. So Bill and Dan did the interview from Trek Geeks. And afterwards, they sent Robert Picardo a note to say, thank you for arranging that for us. And Paul Giamatti had also sent a note saying thank you for that. He loved doing it. He loved it. We are going to get him on our podcast.
He's such a nerd. I love it.
So it's so great. And anyway, we also, and in terms of other guests coming up, I think we've announced all of these. We have Tim Russ. We have Ken Biller, writer from Voyager. Brandon Braga, who's with us every year. Terry Farrell. Sirach Lofton. Robin Curtis. Savick.
I've heard of her.
Yep. She once rescued me when I nearly knocked over a table in front of a bunch of Voyager actors. And we are doing something cool for Enterprise. We're getting a bunch of the writers together.
Very
and
cool.
We're getting the male-female writing teams. Because look, the one thing about Enterprise is it's hard to do an Enterprise panel that isn't just a whole bunch of dudes. And we really wanted to make sure that we could mix it up. And so we did, because there were women. There are more women on the Enterprise writing staff than on any of the other 90s shows.
Yeah. Think of this. All the cadet actors on this show were born after the premiere of Star Trek Enterprise. Because this year's the 25th anniversary. I think they're all under 25, I think. They may not have that right.
I don't think they all are. Are they? I feel like somebody's 26.
Maybe. Now, they keep on, like, every once in a while they talk about them as teens, but this is the oldest thing in Hollywood of people in their 20s and 30s playing teens. I think they're supposed to be like 18.
Well, Darren is supposed to be 17, but Caleb, I think, is supposed to be, he's like 20 he's
or something.
20
like.
Because 15 years have passed.
Yeah.
And he was about 5.
Yeah. I mean, they're college students, basically.
Yeah.
Still, 25 years for Enterprise. Amazing.
Wow.
They're going to do a lot of Enterprise stuff in Vegas, but we're still waiting to hear of Jolene. That's the big question.
Yeah.
They did get James Cromwell, who did appear in the Enterprise. Speaking of people who appearing in, he appeared in the pilot. So
yep, he was he was on Next Gen and
DS9.
Yes, Deep Space Nine, and of course First Contact. Did he do Voyager?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. But yeah, he's been all over. All right, I think that's enough. We'll be back next week to talk about episode 7.
All right, see you then.